Welcome to Secret Story. Dear friends, thank you very much for watching. Leave comments, put likes, share with friends and subscribe to the channel. Gran story, staying with Gran. This is a new genre for me, so let me know how you feel about it and if I should continue. Don't forget to vote and comment. That is the only way that authors know what their readers like. We lived Brighton, a seaside town in the UK. The family consisted of my mum and dad and my 17 years old brother, Reg, and myself. I am Ian and I am 18 years old. We were a close-knit family, and this included my Aunt Fran and my Grandma Gwen, who lived in Findon, a smaller town about 8 to 10 miles from our place. This story begins and my brother Reg had gone boogie boarding one day and ended up in hospital with a broken leg and a broken ankle, and he was in traction. Naturally, he had to spend a couple of weeks in hospital. Mum and Dad thought it best to go and stay closer to the hospital so that they could see him each day and he wouldn't get too lonely. It was arranged for me to go to my grandma's house and stay with her and Aunt Fran for the duration. That was alright with me, as I wouldn't have to go to tech school for a couple of weeks. My aunt came and picked me up after school and took me to their house. She told me to get settled and then to come down for some afternoon tea with her and Grandma. After a couple of days, I was starting to get bored as none of my friends were around and there didn't seem to be anything for me to do. I decided to go for a bit of a hike around the small town and told the oldies that I would be away for a couple of hours or so. I then wandered round the town for about an hour and there didn't seem to be too much to see, so I wound my way home again. When I arrived home, there didn't seem to be anyone around, so I just went up to my room and thought I would have a nap. My aunt was a lady of about 40 years, but wasn't overly obese. She stood about 5 feet 4 inches, in stockings. My grandma was 61 and stood about 5 feet. I was on my way to my room and as I passed the door to my Gran's room, I heard a muffled sound. I wasn't sure what it was but thought I had better check that everything was alright with Gran. The door was slightly open, so I peeked in and what a sight I saw. There was my aunt and Gran on the bed. As soon as I had finished, I crept away and went to my own room. One night, I said goodnight to both Gran and my aunt and went up to bed. I was just coming out of the bathroom, which was down the hall from my room, and my Gran bumped into me. "I'm sorry, Gran," I said as I straightened up. "That's okay, Sonny." "Well, I better get to bed now, Gran, good night." Gran eased her way around me and let me proceed to my room. The door to my bedroom opened and Gran put her head around the door. "My goodness. Ian, what have you got there, baby?" "Oh, Gran, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for you to see me like this." "That's all right, Ian. Can I come in for a few minutes, baby?" "Okay, Gran," I said as I quickly covered myself up with the sheet. Gran came and sat on the side of the bed. "So, my boy, what have you been getting up to in the last few days, while you have been visiting us?" "Generally, just wandering around the town and reading in my room most of the time, Gran." Now, even though I was 18, I had not had much experience. "Oh baby, I miss your grandpa so much." "Well, Gran, anytime you like," I replied, and smiled at her. "For about 10 minutes. Now Gran, would you like that?" "Yes, my darling. But I want to give you something first, okay?" It was the most wonderful feeling in the world. But, I could not take too much of it, as I was more than ready. "I had better leave you and go to my own bed now. Sweet dreams. I love you." "I love you too, Gran." This is a continuation of Gran's story, the tale of a boy and his Gran. Thank you to all the people who read and commented and emailed me your personal comments. Let's hope this chapter is received in the same manner, and please don't forget to vote. This chapter is told by Ian and his Gran. A few months after my initial experience with my Gran, she asked me if I could come over and spend a couple of weeks to do some maintenance on the house for her. My Aunt Fran was going up to London for a few weeks to do some shopping and see a few shows, and Gran didn't like being in the house alone for all that time. College had finished for the year and I was very glad in more ways than one to help Gran. I arrived on Saturday morning and after having a cup of tea with Gran, asked her what she would like me to do first around the house. "Well, Ian, I know what I would like you to do first, but we had better leave that until later, okay, she joked. In the meantime, maybe you can check the gutters and the roof and make sure that there are no leaks, just in case it rains. I proceeded to do the things that she had asked of me, and it took most of the day. I put everything away in the shed and thought it was time to go and have a shower and freshen up. As I entered the back door, Gran was in the kitchen preparing dinner. I'm just going up for a shower, Gran, be down in about 10 minutes. Alright Ian, I will have a drink ready for you, I'm sure you can do with one. I had my shower and came back into the kitchen, and Gran had a beer sitting on the counter for me. Dinner should be ready in about 15 minutes, darling. I bet you're hungry. Very hungry, Gran, but not just for dinner, I replied, smiling down at her. You will just have to wait then, won't you? Later, when we had finished dinner and I had helped Gran with the dishes, she turned to me and kissed me lovingly on the mouth. I have been waiting so long to get you back here, darling. You don't know how much I have missed you. Oh yes I do, Gran, 'cause I have been longing to get back to you too. I would love to continue with the lessons you started to teach me the last time I was here. It will be so much better too, because Aunt Fran won't be here and we won't be disturbed. We sat and watched a movie together, feeling very comfortable with each other. After all, we had a whole 2 weeks. We made our way upstairs to each of our bedrooms. Gran said, meet me in my room in about 10 minutes, darling. I gave her 10 minutes and hurried along to her room just in my boxers. I loved this woman so much, even if she was my Gran and so many years older than me. Do you like it? Just a moment, Gran, let's take this easy. After all, I am going to be here for 2 weeks, so we will have plenty of time to do all the things we want to do. At last, I told Gran that I couldn't guarantee we lay there on the bed for a few moments. And fell asleep until the morning. As you can imagine, when we woke up, so we then decided to continue with our lessons. Which I will tell you about later. I will be continuing this story with another including Auntie Fran. So keep on reading and voting. Send me a personal email via this site and let me know what you think or make a public comment. I have been inundated with personal emails regarding the 2 Gran stories that I thought I would bring my aunt into the equation. There will be another Gran story coming up after this, so get yourselves ready to read. Don't forget to vote and comment. It excites me when I read you comments, both personal and public. This story takes place about 6 months later at my own home. My mom and dad had taken my brother on holidays and I had been left at home because I had started an apprenticeship and couldn't take the time off. My Aunt Fran had offered to keep a check on me as far as my eating habits and keep the house in reasonable order and would call over about every 3rd day. One day she had been doing the laundry and after serving up dinner for the 2 of us, went out to go home and found that the car wouldn't start. It was getting dark by then, so I suggested that she stay overnight. We rang Gran and asked if she would be all right on her own. She assured us that she would be and told us to have a nice night. I have mentioned in my previous stories that Aunt Fran is about 40 years old. She stood about 5 feet 4 inches in stockings. Although she had some extra flesh on her bones, she wasn't obese. We sat and watched the television together for a while, but the program was not at all interesting. Aunt Fran said that she was bored to death and didn't I have any good movie DVDs. I said I did have some, but they were not the usual movies, just what I watched when I was alone in the house. Aunt Fran dared me to get one out and let her see if she liked it or not. Fortunately, I did have one which was about a nephew and his aunt, so I put that one on. Most of mine were gran and grandson movies. We curled up on the lounge and for the first 10 minutes I watched my aunt as she started to squirm around on her seat. I knew where this was going to end up. It was something that I had been longing for. I had had a 6-month with Gran, since the time Aunt Fran had gone to London for a few days. As often as I could, I would ride my bike over to Gran's for another session. Funnily enough, quite often it was after everyone else had gone to bed. They only lived about 8 miles away, so it didn't take too long to get there for a fit young man. Do you know how long I have wanted to be alone with you? Ian. I have wanted you too, Auntie Fran. If both of us feel the same, why don't we go up? I don't think we need any more of the movie. Alright Ian, let's go. I followed my aunt into my parents' bedroom. Aunt Fran asked me to call her Fran when we were alone, as it sounded better. Fran turned to me. Fran did as I asked. I know that, Fran. I saw you with Gran the first time I stayed over there. That was when I knew I wanted. Oh, Ian, what a naughty boy you are. What a shame I didn't know before this. What? I said. Oh yes, I always knew when you were there. Mum told me not to try and see her if the door was closed. Maybe next time you come over, the three of us can get together. Enough talking, Fran. Oh Fran, I know now that I belong there and it should have happened a long time ago. Ian, don't worry about the past, let us just enjoy the present and think about the future. I don't know if I want to share you with Gran. If I keep seeing her, it will have to be separate from when I see you. We will talk about it later. 10 minutes passed. We then slept but woke again later that night and evening with Gran and Aunt Fran. This is a continuation of Ian and his Gran and their joining up with Aunt Fran. After my initial experience with my Aunt Fran, I was unsure if I wanted to continue the relationship with my Gran. I spoke to Fran about this and she thought that we could handle it. Fran was the love of my life. Even at age 19, I knew that I wanted to have her in my life as long as I could. We just seemed to fit together like two peas in a pod. One night, I cycled over to see Gran, not expecting to see Fran. I let myself in the front door and went upstairs to Gran's room. She wasn't really expecting me that night, so wasn't ready. That I got to her door and heard a noise. I peered in the door, which was ajar, and to my surprise, saw Fran. Although I had secretly known that they both got up to such things together, I had never witnessed it. That I stood at the door and just watched for about 10 minutes. I walked in the room. I walked over to the bed and tapped Gran on the shoulder. Gran. Oh, darling, I didn't know you were there. At this moment, Fran told everyone to stop talking and get down to business. That I then made my way to the bedside. It is my turn now. Who's first? Last we fell asleep but woke about an hour later. Gran was still sleeping. When we woke the next morning, Fran and I decided that we had better fill Gran in on our experience. We had breakfast and then sat in the lounge room with her. Gran, we want to tell you something very important, said Fran. Ian and I have had a previous relationship when I was over at his home a few weeks ago. We decided together that we were meant for each other. We don't want to leave you out. Ian knows that you and I have had a wonderful relationship for many years. He doesn't want to stop that. In fact, he wants to come and see us both, on different days. Maybe sometimes we can get together as we did last night. How do you feel about that, Mom? Gran broke down and cried. I took her in my arms and comforted her. I'm not sad, just very happy. I had a feeling that something had happened to Fran, and I am glad it was with you, not some stranger who would never have understood what Fran and I enjoy. Oh Gran, I love you both so much, but I feel that Fran is my soulmate and I need her in my life so much. I said that. A few days later I called over to see them both. They had come up with an idea. They were going to tell my parents that they were getting prowlers in the area and ask them if I could stay with them from now on. As it was closer to work, I was very happy and I couldn't see any objection from Mum and Dad. One less for them to worry about. So, a couple of weeks later, Dad ran me over to Gran's house with all my things. He told me to look after the ladies and left me there after saying hello to both of them. Well, as you can guess, I was kept as a very busy boy. I still saw Fran more than Gran, as she was the woman I was in love with. Gran always welcomed me with open arms whenever I went to see her, which was about twice a week. Even though I had my own room, I don't think I ever slept in the bed. I had two much more comfortable beds to sleep on. Unfortunately, Gran passed away about 5 years. But Fran stayed in the house and I decided to start living there. My relationship with Fran is still ongoing. We are still so much in love with each other after 15 years. We are still living in the same house, and I have told the parents that Fran shouldn't be left alone in that big house. Well, that's our excuse anyway. I am sorry if this is a bit shorter than usual, but it was just one of those things. I don't think I can add any more to this story. So I will now continue with one of the other stories. Enjoy reading this. Remember, it is a real experience between three people. Don't forget to vote, and if you want to email me, I will answer all emails except anonymous, which I can't. If you don't have anything constructive to say, don't bother saying anything. Copyright 2024, all rights reserved. No part of this story can be reproduced in any form or by any electronic or mechanical means without written permission from the author. All characters are fictitious, and any similarity to actual people, living or dead, events, or locales is entirely coincidental unless otherwise stated. Dear friends, thank you very much for watching. Leave comments, put likes, share with friends, and subscribe to the channel. Story 2, Welcome to Secret Story. Life was awful until I met Henry. I was failing most of my classes. My mom kept telling me I had to try harder in school, but I was no good at it. She said I needed to find a job and a place to live by graduation. We were poor and she couldn't support me anymore. I got fired from 5 part-time jobs by the time I was 18. I dated 6 different girls and 8 or 9 guys, but none of them wanted to marry me, or even live with me. I was lucky to get gonorrhea when I did. They gave me a shot and pills for it. Then I met my husband Henry on my way out of the clinic. I stood at the bus stop and he walked over near me. He was my grandfather's age, but generous and quite friendly. He offered me a ride so I wouldn't need to take the bus. We stopped for a nice lunch on the way. After some yummy burritos, I sucked him off while he drove me home. We went on 6 dates in only a week, then he gave me an engagement ring and an appointment for breast implants. My friends thought it was gross I married a guy over 3 times my age, but Henry was great to me. He wasn't hot or anything, but he was the first person I dated that cared about my feelings, if my family was okay, and if I got all the sex I wanted or not. It didn't hurt that he was rich, too. He didn't mind that I closed my eyes and imagined other people when we made love. He even took me to sex parties and let me have tons of fun with other men and women. I love dick, but probably like women more than guys. They understand what other girls like. They're usually more caring and patient, too. I was very happy Henry adopted my little sister Claire when our mom passed away. Henry lets me smoke in the house. But Claire doesn't like the smell and stays in her room a lot. Her best friend Veronica's parents let her sleep over often, so we can have lots of swingers parties and orgies at home. When Claire's home, I usually visit the Jolsons for an hour or 2 before bed. They have an open marriage like we do, and only live 4 blocks down. Henry, I was disappointed the pain in my legs and other health issues prevented me from standing much or walking more than a dozen steps. My lack of sexual function was even more of a depressing letdown. Still, my voyeuristic side greatly enjoyed watching my lusty trophy wife in action. She'd dropped out of high school, and wasn't clever or coordinated enough to drive. She often nicked or burned her fingers when she tried to cook, and she left even more messes around the house than I did. Despite her deficiencies, she was a very kind and sweet girl who loved me. She was also great at providing them. If we're a sport, she'd win Olympic medals. She wouldn't mind if a stadium full of people watched either. I sadly considered what I would put in my will. I had many casual friends, a beautiful home, large investments and plump bank accounts, even a small private island. My sons followed in my footsteps, becoming plastic surgeons with a thriving private practice. I was equally proud of my daughter, who'd just been appointed an appeals court judge. I knew I'd lived a good life, no, actually a great one, but it was coming to an end. My prognosis was bleak, with my 3 potentially lethal health conditions. I knew I only had a couple of months left, possibly 4 with some luck. I needed to assure that my beauty and her younger sister would be well cared for after I was gone. Our personal chef Cornelius took 2 racks of ribs from the wood-fired smoker and carried them to the kitchen. Emma was lying supine on a backless sofa in the living room. We screwed after breakfast, but she was horny again by lunch. It was too much for an old man like me, but she'd be a dream wife for guys a third my age. My bachelor party involved sharing a very nice bottle of cognac with friends as we played cards. I was asleep by 10 o'clock. She was kind enough to record it on video and watched it with me on our honeymoon. The next evening, the second half of her party was a 5-man, 1 Emma gangbang. I was glad all the dark brown furniture in the living room was easy to clean. Our housekeeper Rosalie sighed and shook her head slowly, then cleaned the sofa for the third time of the day. I sat in my usual overstuffed wingback chair near the front door and greeted our new friends. "Hello, Ken. There are drinks at the bar and appetizers in the dining room. Make yourself at home. It's nice to see you again, Valerie. Welcome." She held a covered bowl in front of her and said, "I brought a dessert. Thanks for inviting us. We love barbecue." I replied, "As do we. Please, have a drink and meet everyone while the chef finishes things up. Copyright 2024, all rights reserved. No part of this story can be reproduced in any form or by any electronic or mechanical means without written permission from the author. All characters are fictitious, and any similarity to actual people, living or dead, events, or locales is entirely coincidental unless otherwise stated. Dear friends, thank you very much for watching. Leave comments, put likes, share with friends and subscribe to the channel. Story 3. As soon as we headed off along the path, I was aware of a couple catching us up. "Hello. Hi. I wanted to speak before. I was not sure if I should. Could you show me how to do that, please?" Turning around, I recognized the girl from the cubicle moments ago. Under good light, I could see she was absolutely beautiful. Tall with a gorgeous slim figure, clear skin, and long blonde hair. She reminded me of that perfect girl in college who everyone envied. Untouched by acne or spots, her face was a picture of innocence and loveliness. "I'm sorry to ambush you, but I don't know what else to do. I don't know how to do it like you." Nathan and I turned to face her. Nathan's mouth was open, she was that pretty. A few feet behind her stood her man. A mop of curly blonde hair topped an admittedly handsome young face. He was about the same height as her but looked embarrassed or shy. "How old are you?" Nathan voiced what I was thinking, almost 18. Our parents brought us away after our final exams, before university. "I'm Mary, this is my this is Peter." I guessed boyfriend was a loaded status. "I'm Joe, and this is Nathan." We all nodded hello to each other. Peter stayed back a foot or so. "You watched everything I was doing," I said, guessing she was talking about her appalling blowjob technique. "Yes, but I wanted to ask, but did not know if I should, in there." "What led you to even be in there?" Nathan asked, again voicing what I was thinking. Mary smiled. "Oh, we saw it on socials before we left. Highlights of the resort. We only arrived today, and we knew it was a place where we could be alone." "Yes, I try, and Peter says he enjoys it, but he does not, come. We have only been with each other. I don't have anyone I can ask. I definitely can't ask my mum. When you did it, he came quite fast, so I know he liked what you did more than when I tried. What's in it for me, for us?" I also didn't think Nathan would be too keen to just watch me showing her or to experience her learning. Behind her, Peter was looking at the ground. "I would let Nathan try if he is gentle. Peter won't mind if he has also done it." "Peter, how do you feel about it, mate?" Nathan asked. "I'm cool with it as long as we are honest with each other." "Where are you staying?" Peter said he would do anything Mary wanted. We found out Mary and Peter were a couple of hotels along from us, in a smaller boutique-type place. We also found they could not use their own hotel as their parents had room keys, and they were each sharing rooms with a parent. We talked about coming to our room, which seemed the logical and safest place. We told them we were going down to the late bar to watch the dancing. Peter didn't seem keen at all, but Mary was interested. I told them I'd taken part and that it was a lot of fun. I grabbed Peter's hand and led the way. Behind me, Nathan escorted Mary. We arrived while they were still getting volunteers up on stage. Nathan went to get 4 beers. Mary said she was a very good dancer and told us she had lessons. I stopped her from putting her hand up and said she might be better off watching once and seeing if it was her kind of dancing. I really hoped it would be, but I seriously doubted it was. We drank beer and got to know Mary and Peter a little more before the dancing started. I was pretty sure one of the girls was the same one I had danced with, definitely a plant. The dancers were a mix of ages and sizes, and over the next 3/4 of an hour, we watched them whittle down to the final three. Mary and Peter were totally focused on the stage. They had stopped talking to us. They became more drawn in as the dancing became raunchier. We were at the back of the crowd, and no one paid us any attention. I wanted to touch Mary too, but she was on the other side of him. I wished I had stood between them. We talked over breakfast and agreed we would see Mary and Peter. Nathan messaged Peter, something very bland, to meet up in the afternoon. He also said we would be around the pool. Our hotel pool was open to non-residents, so a good place to start. I was horny all day waiting to meet them. I didn't need a drink to find myself thinking very naughty things. Nathan and I agreed I would take Mary and Peter up to our room and show Mary what she wanted. Then Nathan should go with her and let her show him what she had learned. We didn't think all of us being in the room to start with would be a good idea. But we did want to make sure we got as much fun out of the arrangement as we could. We both half expected them to be a no-show, to chicken out. They arrived slightly early in shorts and t-shirts. We had reserved a group of loungers on the far side of the pool, away from too many ears. This side did not get the sun until mid-afternoon, which kept it empty for now. We told them what we proposed and they both seemed keen. I asked Mary if she had ever even asked Peter what he liked and they both shook their heads. We chatted and Nathan went and got a tray of coffee to share. Half an hour later, I led Mary and Peter through the lobby of the hotel and into the lifts. I opened the door to our room and was glad to see the maid had already been. I found out that Peter had never gone down on her, and that they had only recently started doing anything together. They both blamed their strict parents and quite a lonely upbringing. I asked if they were ready to learn and experience new things and they both nodded enthusiastically. I took hold of Mary's thumb and proceeded to imitate a wet a few seconds. Mary looked uncomfortable. Do you see what I mean? Did you feel what I was doing? I wanted her to feel what I was saying to do. I also said there was no point in starting on Peter until she knew what she was trying to do. And no point just watching me do it. She had already seen that the other night. I said, Mary tried my finger again. You've got to really want this. Has no one ever talked about this with you before, not even a friend? Melanie said the geography teacher paid her to suck him off on a school trip recently. And what did she tell you? I wondered what myths had been perpetuated. She said she did it for about 20 minutes, and then he came. She said it was like a whole load of thick fish soup had been dumped in her mouth. She said it was disgusting. No, well, I only touched it with the tip of my tongue the other night. Not really. Hold on, what have you tasted? Nothing really. I'd worried about not liking it or making me puke. This was going from bad to worse and I decided to push it and put her mind at rest in one go. I could see Peter staring at me. I'm going to try and show you a little of what you are trying to get. Why did you stop? Please don't stop. Okay, sit up again. Peter, after you come, how quickly are you ready to go again? The first time, pretty much straight away when I'm on my own. He grinned. It's time you started on the real thing. I guided her and every now and then would take over and show her small differences. Peter finally lay back again with his eyes closed, concentrating on the feelings. Okay, the best thing is to just swallow it. Mary hesitated a second or two and swallowed. She showed me her empty mouth. How was it? I asked. I can't believe it. It tastes sort of strange but not nasty. It is sort of thick but not. Thank you so much. I would never have been brave enough to do any of that. Peter started thanking me too. Seems like you two have learned a lot and had a great time. I guess it is time to repay the favor. They both looked at me eagerly. I urged Mary to go straight for it. She sped up and I could see she was really trying. I sat and enjoyed the view, proud of how quickly Mary had learned in the end. I looked at the bedside clock. We had been gone for nearly an hour and a half. Let's go and find Nathan. He will be wondering why we have been gone so long. Back downstairs we sat around in the sun for a while, Mary and Peter talking excitedly to each other. I had to warn them to keep the volume down as others might hear. I gave Nathan a rundown of what had gone on. Do you want to go and show Nathan what you learned? I'm sure he would enjoy it, I'm sure you will too. I pulled Nathan close and whispered to him that I think their first time really should be with each other, don't you? Nathan led Mary away around the pool. I handed Peter a bottle of sunscreen and asked him to do my back for me. I lay on my front and felt his nervous hands spread sunscreen on my back. I urged him to make sure my sides were done too. I also asked him to do my legs. I don't want to get burnt. I could feel myself getting turned on and knew other eyes would be watching this young lad. Eyes that would know he was not my husband. I offered to apply sunscreen for Peter and he seemed to reluctantly agree. 20 minutes later Nathan and Mary reappeared. Nathan gave me a thumbs up as he approached. Mary was smiling widely. You taught her well, really well. Nathan settled onto a sunbed. He tastes different than Peter, sort of stronger, but I liked it. Mary was excited like a kid at Christmas. Nathan, you should sunscreen Mary before she burns. Now the sun has come around. I held the bottle out toward him. No, I'm okay. I did not bring my swimming costume, just my t-shirt and shorts. We should get back to our hotel soon. Our parents will wonder if we missed dinner. Mary was all smiles as she spoke. Peter sat up and pulled on his shirt, and both thanked us. They got ready to leave. I hope we can see you later on. We have enjoyed today a lot. Something Nathan had never managed. Copyright 2024, all rights reserved. No part of this story can be reproduced in any form or by any electronic or mechanical means without written permission from the author. All characters are fictitious, and any similarity to actual people, living or dead, events, or locales is entirely coincidental unless otherwise state. Dear friends, thank you very much for watching. Leave comments, put likes, share with friends and subscribe to the channel.